Hey, what's up guys? Coach Mac, playfastfootball.blogspot.com. We're going to change gears a little bit here today. We're going to switch some things up, and instead of talking about X's and O's and offense and defense, what I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about some off-season in speed and agility training and some new equipment and some new companies that's out there doing some work that we work with and doing some work finding ways to bring you different pieces of equipment to train your athletes and using portable equipment that you can move from field to gym to different locations so that you can train your athletes. As we approach the end of July, beginning of August now, football's starting to crank back up, the NFL teams are in camp, colleges are getting ready to go to camp, and high schools across the country are getting ready to go into either two-a-days camp, whatever it may be, however you start off your football season. And I think in almost every program from the NFL all the way down to Pop Warner or junior high, I think this is the time of year where everybody's looking at their returning players and they're trying to figure out how much better of a football team you are and how much better your football players are than the year before. If you're in a high school program like I'm in, and you have returning 9th, 10th, and 11th graders that are coming to you, and then you have incoming 8th graders that are coming to you, all right, the lifeline of your program and the bread and butter of your program becomes the development that the development of these players and the goals and, the things that you can accomplish with these players from their summer of their 8th grade year until, December of their senior year when they can no longer play football for you. So, as we approach the season, what we're trying to look at as a staff now is we're looking at all the work we've been doing since January and trying to see how much better are our football players when we start in August than they were in January of the year before. Because again, in high school football, we have basically the same kids that we had the year before, and we don't have free agency, we don't have a draft, we can't go out and address our needs through a talent pool elsewhere. We have to basically assess and address our needs within our own school and within our own program. So the off-season training of our athletes becomes a huge part in the success of the upcoming football season. Now, depending on the type of school that you're at, okay, as a head high school football coach, what you have to understand is you also possibly become the strength and conditioning coach. You become the off-season program coach. You become the fundraising coach, you become the equipment manager. As a high school football coach, you take on so many different hats that you have to wear throughout the season, okay, that, what we do is a little bit different than the college and the NFL game because you can go out and hire professionals that specialize in strength and conditioning and you can make them your strength and conditioning coach, and in the off-season, they take care of all that while you still work on X's and O's. Well, in the high school football game or the junior high or Pop Warner football game, we become that person. We are the strength coach. We are the conditioning coach. We are the speed coach. Okay? So as a high school football coach, you have to try and become a little bit more well-rounded in a lot of different areas to say that you have some type of understanding of what needs to go on in a weight room and what needs to go on in speed and agility. And, not necessarily does that make you an expert. By no means am I an expert in strength and conditioning or speed and agility. Okay, I think I know enough about it to run a high school program, all right, but by no means am I a strength and conditioning coach or a strength trainer. I'm a football coach. I would like to get on the board and talk about offense and defense or special teams, okay, but I have to know enough about what we're doing and how we're doing it so that I can assess and address the needs of my high school football program. One of the things we did about 3 years ago is we started working with a company called Trax. Okay, and what Trax does is Trax has some training equipment, all right, that is built to be in portable, movable fashion to where you can train upwards of 64 players at a time, okay, through different plyometric resistance, assistance, technical running drills, and also, some drills that you can combine to where there's a group that might be working in what's called a field station and there's a group that might be working in what's called the actual speed station itself. Okay, so one of the problems as a high school coach I always came across was I've got 60 players in an off-season program and there's only me and one other guy and we got to train all these guys and maybe we don't have access to the weight room, maybe we don't have access to the gym, maybe we got to go out on the field. How how are we going to constantly come up with a program to train all these kids? Well, what Speed Track did was they developed some portable equipment that allowed you to train upwards of 32 to 64 athletes at a time. Okay? And what they did was they also developed a curriculum, all right, through several strength and speed experts. They developed a curriculum that you can follow with a software program, all right, that has an off-season 8-week or 12-week curriculum that you can use with your football program. It'll give you a calendar. You can set up exact workout dates. And what it does is it tells you exactly the exercises and the movements that you need to do on each day with a warm-up period and a cool-down period, so that if you knew nothing about speed and agility, you could follow this exact program, all right, set up by experts in the field of speed and agility and movements, okay? And you can follow that exact program and get results from your kids, all right, and get results with your kids without having to be a speed and agility and a movement coach, all right? So what it does is it has a software program called Trax that will give you a curriculum to follow, all right? Within that curriculum, it gives you videos of the exercises so that if you don't know how to perform the exercises, the video, there's a tutorial and a video that shows you how to perform the exercises, and then it actually maps out an 8 or a 12-week program for you to follow, so that if you didn't know anything about speed and agility, if you just follow that curriculum like you would an American history curriculum or an English curriculum, all right, or a science curriculum, if you just follow that curriculum, your kids will get results, okay, through your speed and agility training, and you don't even have to really know that much about speed and agility itself. Okay, so the Speed Track system gave me a way to train multiple athletes at the same time, while giving me equipment that I could use for resisted and assisted training, while giving me speed ladders, while giving me hurdles, while giving me medicine balls, and giving me the appropriate curriculum to follow, so that if I didn't know anything about it, I could just plug that program in and get results from my kids. So about 3 years ago, we bought into it, and I was fortunate enough to have a principal who saw the direction that he wanted to go in, and I had a principal who understood the athletes that we had at our school and the athletes we were trying to compete against on the schedule, and he knew that we had to make some changes. So we bought into the Speed Track system, okay, and we've been using it for 3 years, and it really has brought us a lot of positive results. Now, again, I think the thing as a head football coach, what you have to understand is your off-season program and your training, there's a lot more into it and involved than it is in just your standard college or NFL program. Your kids are multi-sport athletes. They can't be here every day. You don't have the facilities to use every day. You don't just have a football training center. All right, so you have to understand that your off-season program comes with a bunch of hurdles and challenges that you need to address as a football coach. Okay, so one of the things that I understood, you know, for a long time, about 10 years ago, I got a piece of information at a clinic, and it's something that I still understand to this day, even though I'm not an expert in functional movements or speed and agility. But the one thing I understand is that the game of football, the average football player will change directions 3 to 5, possibly 6 or 7 times every single play, depending on the position that they play and the nature of the play. Okay? So, you know, a lot of times in football, we get so hung up on 40-yard dash, 40-yard dash, 40-yard dash. In reality, there's very rarely are there football players who run 40 yards in a straight line, untouched, unabated, all right, without having to make some type of change of direction, some type of change of speed, some type of movement that alters that 40-yard straight line speed. Okay? So we get hung up on a stopwatch, and we get hung up in combines, and the NFL combine, and the 40-yard dash, 40-yard dash, 40-yard dash. Well, in reality, if you don't have players that have lateral movement, the ability to change direction and change speeds, the ability to accelerate and decelerate into and out of different movements, the 40-yard dash is really a pointless, all right, tool to measure. When I was playing college football, we went out and experimented, and my coach went out and he got one of the fastest guys on the track team, and he tried to make him a kick returner. Okay? And I'll never forget this. This kid was a tremendous physical specimen. He was about 6'2", 210-pound kid, and he ran about 4.4 40-yard dash. But he was trained as a sprinter, and all the training that he did was done in a straight line. We opened up camp, and we were in shorts and helmets, and on the first day of camp, this kid pulled a hip flexor all right, and had a hip flexor problem just doing lateral side-to-side bag drills. And the reason was he was trained to run in a straight line on a track to run 100-meter dashes, okay? And now you got to remember, this is 20, 25 years ago where the training methods weren't as good. His body was trained to run in a straight line. And as soon as he had to start doing lateral, change of direction, change of speed, accelerating, decelerating movements, he actually injured a hip flexor, okay, and had to sit out the first 4 to 6 weeks of camp in the season, and we never got him back until about the 6th or 7th game of the year. We finally got him to return some kicks and play receiver, but he literally had to retrain his bodies and his muscles to do the movement specific to football as opposed to the movement specific for being a 100-meter dash, runner only. Okay? And what you'll find out is, as an athlete and with the body, we have to be able to train a football player to make all sorts of different movements, accelerate, decelerate, move east and west laterally side to side, jump and explode. We have to train for all types of different movements as a football player so that the movements that we train for are functional on the football field so we can see results. Okay? And one of the things you got to understand is when you gain strength and power in the weight room, all right, if you're an Olympic lift team and you're doing a lot of power clean and a lot of Olympic snatch and overhead lifts, those movements are all great if you can transfer them onto the football field. If you can't transfer that strength and that power into functional movements on the football field, okay, although your players are stronger on paper, you physically have not made yourself a better football team unless you can now transfer the strength and the power that you've gained in the weight room through Olympic lifts onto and into the playing field in functional movements. So you have to understand that the off-season of a football program just has a wide scope of things that we need to develop, okay, within our football players. All right? And the biggest thing we have to understand is change of direction is the big key in football. Okay? In a game of football, on that football field, change of direction is going to be the #1 thing, okay, that wins and loses us ball games. How each and every one of our players at every position is able to change direction, pick up speed, how quickly can they get to full speed, how quickly can they decelerate from full speed to make a cut, okay? Those are the things that we have to understand, that we have to train our football players in the offseason to do. Okay, so by incorporating the Speed Track equipment with the Speed Track curriculum, and what the Speed Track program has done is it's given us the flexibility to use what we want to use in our program. If we want to follow it to a T, we can follow it to a T. If we want to use the drills we like and then incorporate other drills that we like, we can do whatever we want, all right, to make ourselves a flexible training program to go ahead and try and achieve the end result, which is players that are not only stronger and more powerful, all right, but can apply the strength and the power into functional movements on the football field. All right. So what I've done is I've got some videotape of 2 of my DBs just doing standard, all right, standard defensive back footwork drills, transition drills, okay, shuffle transition drills, backpedal transition drills, change of direction, transitioning from a shuffle to a full speed run, from a full speed run to a plant and drive downhill, from a backpedal to a plant and drive 45 degrees, from a backpedal to a plant and drive straight downhill, okay, from a shuffle run to a post to a speed turn post corner. Okay, all different drills that we use with our DBs to work on transition and change of direction. And they're drills that every DB coach in America, from Pop Warner to junior high to high school to NFL, college, everybody's using them. Depending on what techniques you like to teach, you're all doing some type of transitional drills with your defensive backs. So what I've done is I've taped some of my D-backs doing these transitional drills, and then I taped the same D-backs doing some of the movements that you can use in the Speed Track, to try and give you guys an understanding how these movements, all right, are going to correlate from the speed and agility exercise to on the field. So we're talking about trying to gain hip mobility, okay, hip flexion, strength in the hip, strength in the core, all right, hamstring strength, hamstring mobility. Okay, so we're talking about some exercises that you can do within the Speed Track program, all right, and some exercises that are going to greatly increase the mobility, the flexibility, and the explosion of your players so that you can transfer that into some type of functional movement on the football field. All right, again, You know, the overall goal when I started doing this in January, when I started this blog, the overall goal was play fast football, okay? And finding a way to identify what gets our kids to play fast football on the field. Started with X's and O's, all right? And what schemes allow us to play fast because they are simplistic in nature, but they cover enough to where we can attack an offense or a defense, okay, and be successful attacking that offense or defense. But our kids can play as fast as we want them to play because, all right, they know their assignments and they know how to execute their assignments at full speed because a confused player is a slow player. Well, now let's transition that, okay? We talked a little bit about coaching assignments and how we can coach faster and we can coach smarter. We talked about game day assignments, okay? Now let's talk about training. And let's talk about how we can get our players to play faster by training faster, okay? But as coaches, all right, let's get ourselves to coach faster by using methods, all right, that are smarter, that allow us to train our players better for functional movements. So again, the overall goal, all right, behind the Play Fast Football blog and behind what I'm trying to do here is to get us to take a full football program and incorporate all the ideas that we want to incorporate so that our kids can play fast, train fast, okay, think fast, all the things that we want to incorporate into an overall play, okay, to develop, all right, the overall football player, okay, to develop the football player that's well-rounded on the field and off the field, to develop a kid that has not only football skills on the field, but understands what it means to be a functioning member of society off the field. That's our goal as a high school football program. Always keep in mind, okay, that we want to try and develop our players, okay, and I want to develop my players, not my resume, okay. It's more important for me to build my players than it is to build my own resume. I want to build a football program, not a football dynasty. Okay? By building a football dynasty, that means I have to go out and look at the potential of assessing strengths and weaknesses and maybe addressing those strengths and weaknesses through a talent pool at the junior high level or at the Pop Warner level or at other high schools in the neighborhood. That's not what high school football is. I want to build a football program that is on core values and my beliefs. So I have to use the tools in my building to build that program. Okay, so the goal of this Play Fast Football is not only X's and O's, but it's training, it's off-season development, it's academics, it's everything that we want to do to develop a well-rounded football player that parents and teachers, administrators, and opponents, okay, almost, most importantly, opponents can feel like they respect playing, okay, and they respect what we do as a football program. All right, so this is just a little bit different direction than normal, not an X's and O's, not an offense or defense, just changing gears a little bit and understanding that a head coach wears multiple hats. You got to understand how to be that different guy in 4 to 5 to 6 different settings, and how hopefully I can help you as a head football coach at a junior high, Pop Warner, high school level. Hopefully I can help you become a more well-rounded coach so you can develop a well-rounded program. Okay, so today we're talking about training fast so we can play fast, because we won't play well until we play fast. Catch you guys next time.